Okay, good evening everyone and welcome to our regular meeting. I will now call the meeting to order. The agenda is there before you. Could I have a motion to approve, please? Moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Buckle. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. Adoption of the minutes from the meeting on May 30th. Are there any errors or omissions? Okay, if not, the table will adopt them as presented. Business arising. Okay, if there's no business arising, we will move on to the mayor's points. I have a couple of items here I would like to bring to you and the public's attention. The first item is regarding the recent property assessments that were completed by Municipal Assessment Agency as required by law. All I can say is that I'm bemused and frustrated. I came home one day only to find an assessor walking around our property. He said everything remained unchanged and nothing of any significance was done since the last assessment. I explained to him that I replaced a patio a few years ago, which cost me $15,000, but that would have been reflected in the last assessment. Lo and behold, when the latest assessment arrived several weeks ago, we had a $48,000 increase in property value. So what was the justification behind that whopping increase? They say it's based on comparable home sales in the area. I don't think properties increased by that much in the last couple of years. It appears they're applying financial values to properties with nothing of any substance to reinforce their logic. Basically, it's a hit or miss scenario. Some owners will be hit, while others may be missed. Don't seem like a very consistent or accurate system to me. I completely understand and empathize why residents get frustrated come tax time. Municipalities in Newfoundland have been advocating for a fairer taxation system for years, but to no avail. In my personal opinion, and it's my personal opinion only, and given the fact that nobody can seem to figure this out, I honestly believe the Auditor General needs to intervene and conduct a comprehensive review of the Municipal Assessment Agency and its operations. Residents deserve some clear-cut answers. So that's on that, and we will talk about that later at the Committee of the Whole. On a lighter note, from time to time, I, on behalf of Council, recognize individuals or groups for unselfishly doing great work for the benefit of others. On June 5th, a 76-year-old man and his son were on a fishing trip in the Hawk Hill area by the Rod and Gun Club when fog quickly rolled in and the two became displaced from one another. The son made it back to his vehicle safely, but unfortunately, his father became disoriented and couldn't find his way back. As I recall, the weather wasn't exactly the nicest during those 2 long days in the wilderness. Search and rescue teams were deployed to the area, and after 2 exhaustive days of searching, the man was found safe and sound, only all worse for the wear. We extend a huge thank you to the Central Avalon Ground Search and Rescue, Avalon North Wolverines, Rover Search and Rescue, the Triple Bay Eagles Ground Search and Rescue, a Cormorant helicopter with the 103 Search and Rescue Squadron, and the RCMP for bringing this most challenging incident to a successful conclusion. On behalf of Council, I would like to send a letter to the Provincial Search and Rescue Coordinator, Mabel Tilley, to pass on our thanks and appreciation for a job well done. So, that will be sent out in the coming days. Okay, that is the mayor's update. And Madam CAO, is there any correspondence? Nothing? Okay. With that said, we will move on to planning and development. We have Deputy Mayor Woodford and Councillor Windsor.
Good evening, everybody. Planning and Development Committee met via Zoom on June 21st. Sorry, start again. Good evening, everybody. The Planning and Development Committee met via Zoom on June the 21st with all members in attendance. 4 applications were reviewed, 1 required discretionary use ad, and 1 was recommended for motion this evening. We did receive 1 piece of correspondence. It was a complaint regarding excavation near a body of water and concern around environmental and other issues. And this is an excellent example of how the different departments here within the town collaborate with one another, because that information was sent to the Director, Robert Stacey of Infrastructure and Public Works, who conducted a site visit and he is currently working with the owner of the property to ensure that the correct permits and application and regulations are being met. The other information that I wanted to provide was an update on the town plan review. We had indicated that we are complete with that initial review, and I wanted to get an update from our town planner, and he did provide one today to say that basically they are working on a draft component of the plan. And they're hoping to have that within the next, I think, 4 weeks is what they're looking at right now. So once that comes to us, the next steps, as he identified, upon positive review by council, 2 public consultation meetings are required. In the first meeting, it's called a public open house, where residents are provided an opportunity to make comment and suggestions to be included in the municipal plan. In the second meeting, council will present the plan to residents seeking comments on that. The plan is then forwarded to the Department of Municipal Affairs for a review. Once it's released by the department, the plan is then formally adopted by council, and the required public hearing is scheduled and chaired by an independent commissioner appointed by council. So the commissioner will make a report to council. If it adopts the commissioner's report, the plan is sent to the minister for registration. So that's the next steps. And I'm sure that that's going to take us well into the fall or the new year for sure. So that's just an update on that. I'll just ask my co-chair now, Steve Windsor, if you have anything you want to add before I read the motion.
No, that's excellent, Deputy Mayor. The only thing I was going to mention was, the file you brought up, the cross collaboration between the 2 departments. In Infrastructure and Public Works, we actually had 3 files at our last meeting that touched on that sort of thing, right? And the particular one that you were bringing up, we discussed that, and bringing a level of formality to the paper trail around that. And a stop work order, that's not a dirty word, right? It's important. I want to make sure that the applicant, he's very cooperative, ensuring that we're following all town guidelines as well as the province with respect to the wetlands, but also the slopings of great concern there. They've been very cooperative. But I think that in the past, a lot of times it's just a handshake agreement sort of thing, or gentleman's agreement, they say. But we're trying to adopt a more formal and structured approach to this sort of thing, documenting everything and issuing stop work orders until they're approved. But that was the only comment I wanted to make, and there were several files in Infrastructure and Public Works that were similar in nature, and you and I are on those 2 different committees, but a good example of keeping everyone in the loop, right? Yeah.
So the first permit that we have is our permit listing. Be it resolved to table and approve the attached permit listing. 16 permits were issued from May the 24th to June the 23rd, 2023, and includes permits for general repairs, new build permit number 2, water for swimming pool, accessory buildings, etc. So moved.
Okay, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion? If not, all those in favour, contrary-minded, motion is carried.
And the next is for 16 Country Path. It's a home-based business application. The zoning is residential medium density. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve the above home-based business application in principle, subject to the town's municipal plan and development regulations. The storage of vehicles is not permitted at this location. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion?
Yeah, we just want to probably bring that one to the table, because, I don't know if you can hear me, I'm moving, sorry. That's an application for a business, for a dealer's license. So our acting CAO / Director of Business Development and Marketing reached out to the Department of Motor Vehicles, and this is something new that has come from the Department of Motor Vehicles. To be an approved automobile dealer in the province, that you have to have a license that they're going to issue every year, which must include a civic address, zoning, and town approval. And it's not unusual for the home-based business or the office to be in one community and the sale of the vehicles in another. So when we investigated that, this individual is just wants the area for a home-based business, the vehicles, there will be no sale of vehicles on the property that has been identified. So just to clear that up.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments? The motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, those against, motion is carried.
And that's it for the update for planning and development.
Okay, thank you very much, folks. And now we'll move on to recreation and community events. We have Councillor Buckle and Councillor King.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of points we'd like to bring forward tonight. Our swimming park will be opening on Friday, June the 30th. So we're hoping the weather in the next few days looks good. So we're hoping for a good summer in the park. It means a big attraction for our town in the summer times. A lot of people from outside come to visit, and a lot of our residents and surrounding communities, the kids enjoy it there. I mean, we're always trying to make the park a better place for people to stay. We're trying to always add, like whenever we had the canteen there for years, we got that opened up the last few years. Every now and then we're having a little bit of music there at certain times throughout the summer. Just trying to make it more family oriented for people to enjoy. So we're hoping for good weather. It's opening on Friday, June the 30th. So hopefully we'll have a good weekend and a good turnout there for the start.
And if I could, Councillor Buckle, just a friendly reminder to people who are frequenting the park, because as you say, you know, in the summertime we do get extremely large numbers. We have a lot of vehicles, and it's very important from a safety perspective to be very, very careful and cognizant of your surroundings, both when parking and when leaving, because of course when children get out of the car all excited to go to the park, there's kids, you know, going back and forth the road. So just be careful of your surroundings and have fun and be safe.
And that's a good point, Mr. Mayor. And we've been looking at that. I mean, our community's recreation and actually in public safety, it's been brought up too. I mean, we're looking at something down the road to see what we can do there with parking, how we can expand it. But, you know, I mean, it is on the radar. We are talking about it, but everything takes time and money. So, I mean, we know there's an issue there, you know, I mean, with parking at times and the kids and the traffic flow. You know, I mean, they're coming off the Trans-Canada Highway doing 100+ kilometers a lot of times, and they're coming down through there. You know, I mean, there's no houses to speeds there. But, I mean, you'll notice a lot of times, even last year, the RCMP have been very supportive in trying to deal with some of the issues in that area during the park season. So hopefully they'll be on board again this year and do a little bit of work there behind the scenes for us.
Okay.
The Squid Fest brochure, this beautiful brochure went out in the mail, and it's on our website too. There's a lot of activities planned for Squid Fest, another big attraction for us for our recreation and for tourism for the summertime. A lot of people plan their holidays, come home, spend time with their families around it. I mean, there's lots of activities there for everyone. There's one actually already sold out, it's even put sold out on the brochure, and that's the comedy night, so, I mean, there is a lot of activities, but once again, we hope for good weather, I mean, good weather gets people out to the activities. And the Canada Day, we're having Canada Day celebrations this Saturday, and it's going to be from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the festival grounds. And it's going to be carnival games, face painting, cake cutting, trying to get everyone to come out, wear your red and white and support Canada Day, you know what I mean? The weather looks good for Saturday so far, so we're hoping for a good turnout there, and all the colleagues, anyone's around, please drop down and show your support. The CBC United Soccer is going to be kicking off the week of July 3rd at our new soccer field here of the year. There's over 140 plus kids registered.
Wow.
So that's great news, and you know what I mean, we got the new soccer field there, and there were some nets that wasn't there last year that have been put up since last season, so you know what I mean, that's all adding there for the program and for the kids, so we're hoping for a good turnout there the year. And once again, hopefully the weather cooperates. Everything is about weather. And our committee is always looking at our plan for our Summer Line Recreation Park area over here around from the soccer field up to the ball field and all in between. You know, so our multi-courts now is getting ready to be done in on the back, some pavement, some fencing, and some nets put there. So us as the committee, we discussed it, you know what I mean, and there was an email that went out to council. We're looking at taking our skateboard stuff that's on the old skateboard park down here now and moving it up to the new area once it's all paved, because down where the skateboard park is, our plan is down there to get that site prepped and ready, and we're hoping to get a concrete surface in there sooner than later, you know what I mean. It's going to be in the new budget next year or whatever. We're going to push for it, which is something that we'd like to see, because we bought the previous council here back in 2019 bought boards from a stadium that was changing out boards in St. John's. So we have the whole board section of a rink to put around that concrete. So what we're looking at, we could flood it in the winter for ice hockey, and then in the summertime it could be used for ball hockey. You know what I mean? It could be multi-purpose use. So we're looking at trying to get the old, because the old skateboard park down there, the pavement's getting in rough shape. So, you know what I mean, we get some new multi-courts, take that equipment, move it up there, and we're going to take down that fence and that pavement up and get that ready, area prepped for the outdoor rink in that area. Also, we're looking at the trail development, and we're trying to build a trail development in the whole area too. So we're looking at expanding the trails and have a nice walking trail in that area. We're also looking for like funding. We're trying to do something for the seniors in that area for like a seniors playground area for seniors. So we're working with Margie, who's always seeing what money we can come up with to see what we can do there, like make a little seniors playground area in that. And our big, you know, I mean, our big wish in that area is a building, recreation type / multi-purpose building. And I mean, it's not the first time at this that council's hearing this tonight. You know what I mean? It's been brought up in the budget process before, and we're still pushing for it. You know what I mean? We're a town here. We got no recreation facility to use. We're always, you know what I mean, we're using the school, again, for our recreation program this summer. You know what I mean, it's great that we can avail that, but if we couldn't, you know what I mean, we would have nowhere actually to put off our recreation program. So, you know what I mean, we're looking at some building designs. We're always keeping our eye open and dealing with planning our business development and Marjorie for funding applications that come out, because there may be something come out there that we could avail of. And when we're looking at the concept of the building, you know what I mean, we could look at something, we could start at one size and we could build onto it without taking away from the look down the road, because if we probably won't get the money to do the whole building that we would like to see there at one time, but we'd like to start somewhere and expand. So we're looking at that. We're trying to dress the whole area up for the residents for a recreation plan here at the Summer Line. We got lots of land, we got lots of room to put stuff, so we're trying to develop it so that it looks good and we know where we're going. So there's a lot of work being done, you know what I mean? We're planning, you know what I mean? Everything is time and money, but we are planning to try to address that area and put some more stuff there for people to use.
And for all ages and families, and the beauty about that particular area is that it's really centralized in the whole community.
Yeah. And you know what I mean, we built it over the last few years, you know what I mean? There was a point there where we just had from the playground down the ball field, now have washrooms up there, you know what I mean, back when. But you know what I mean, we used to have just a porta potty here for the summertime. But since we've done the new soccer field, part of that was the canteen and the washroom facilities there, which is handicap uh, accessible, and you know what I mean. So that's a big feature there. You know what I mean. We got that added in, and since in the last few years, you know what I mean, the water line went in here. We never had the water line ran
That's
in
right.
that road, so we have the water line there now too. So if we do build a building, you know what I mean, water and the sewer is there now in that area. So that's a, you know what I mean, that's a good thing for down the road if we do look at putting a building there. So.
It's a great plan.
We're planning, we're always trying to do work, and we're trying to make it a better place for everyone to use. Thank you.
Okay,
Not sure
thank
if
you very
Councillor
much.
King got anything to add.
Okay, any questions or comments on recreation and community events? If not, we will move on to infrastructure and public works. We have Councillor Windsor and Councillor King.
Thank you, Mayor. And Councillor Buckle and the Recreation Committee, excellent job. I'm wearing my short sleeve shirt tonight because I'm optimistic about the good weather that we need.
Or jinx it.
All right, or jinx it. And a word of support too, like I guess, you know, to comment on Councillor Buckle's vision of a scalable, modular approach for the future and the building. That is an excellent concept. And I think that's, you know, instead of going for the giant Cadillac initially, but you plan for the, you know, the modular, scalable approach. I think that's a really good concept, and I fully support that. Infrastructure and Public Works, we met just last Friday, the 23rd. Full committee was present, Mayor, Acting CAO, and my colleague, Councillor Sadie King. I'll deliver the update. We have two motions before us, and Councillor King will deliver those motions, and they're very relevant to some of the subjects that were just brought up. Right, the first one, I don't want to talk about it too much because I'll steal your thunder. But the first one is around safety at the swim park that's opening, and it's around the armor stone and fencing that's in much needed repair. It's a gas tax motion. And the second one is for leak detection, which is relevant. And that's the number one thing I want to talk about tonight, and start with acknowledging the Public Works staff for their swift intervention of 4 water leaks in the last week. Didn't expect that we would see so many in such a short period of time, but thankfully, you know, this was a wet season. You know, I kind of worry about had this occurred in July and August, and 1, drier time of year for the summer, and 2, higher demand on use for the pools and the hoses and the people washing their cars and all that sort of thing, right? Some leaks were at the south side, which is a 1971 vintage pipe system. The other one, which is newer, but lost more water on Taplan's Hill. That's an 8-inch line there. So it took we lost a tremendous amount of water. It took almost a full week to replenish the tank to normal operating levels. So you can imagine now if that was in July or August, well, we'd have a big problem on our hands, and you know, water outage, ban, potentially impacting on emergency services and so on, right? So just wanted to highlight that, to thank the staff, and also to bring forward back to council the importance of making sure when we get into our budget consultations, we always remember to set aside some money for the asset integrity, the aging infrastructure, in full support of this motion that Councillor King is going to deliver on leak detection equipment as well, right? That's number one. Some of the other items we talked about, we touched on Deputy Mayor and the planning and development. Won't get into that because we've already talked about that, and the discussions are happening between the two committees. The wood cutting policy I wanted to bring up. There was resident feedback around wood cutting policy, and just to explain that a little bit, and we're going to revise and reissue the policy with some more improved language, I think, just so everyone understands the intent. The intent in the policy is not to charge someone a fee and get a permit, knock down a few trees on their land at all, right? The policy started off as around town land and the lottery system and so on. That was most of the discussion. But we also wanted to get in there was a piece which already actually exists under planning and development, right? And that's the clear cutting of a property. So that's what that was about. So we're going to reissue the policy with improved language so people understand that. No, we're not going to charge them $50 permit, knock down trees on your land. Yes, there is a permit and there's a process that goes through planning and development for clear cutting development. Because the same, probably more residents have complained about unsightly clear cut lots that no one does anything with, right? So it's important the town has oversight and control on that. So that's the wood cutting policy,
Councillor Windsor, if I could just interject for a second.
by all means.
You know, I'm glad that you clarified that we're not out dipping into people's pockets to get that $50 fee. You know, if you got land on the back of your house, and a lot of people, you know, have wood stoves and like to stock up for the winter, and they go behind, they probably got acres and acres of land and want to cut a few trees, fair game.
Yeah.
And the purpose of the permit, and I think this needs to be clarified, is not that the town is out to try to police what's going on. It's a matter of monitoring the activity to ensure that the permit holder is in compliance with what they said or she said they were going to do. And I'll give you an example. A few years ago, we had a situation where there was a guy clear-cutting land and encroached over on somebody else's land, not knowing. And that, I believe, ended up, well, it did end up with legal, and I think eventually it ended up in court. And last week, I was talking to a gentleman, and he was in the same situation, only to realize that somebody was cutting land and veered over onto his property. So the purpose of the permit, no different than getting a permit to burn some material in your backyard to ensure it's compliant with the regulations, and that if there's any issues with neighbors or whatever, that we know there's a permit there, and the fire chief or the fire department can monitor the activity until the project is finished. And that's the mere purpose of the permit. But I'm glad that you did clarify the fact that we're not looking at a fee.
Yeah, what we'll do too is like lesson learned in getting that out the door. We will circulate amongst all the council for your close review and commentary, so we can make sure that it's, sometimes you're looking at something, you're so close to it, so you can't see the forest for the trees.
Pardon the pun.
Right? So stay tuned on that. Okay. Next thing I want to bring up was Seminar Line garbage cleanup. So director checked with the province to see if it's a provincial road. Did they have any plans to conduct any cleanups in the area? No, they do not. So the town's going to try to take that on. However, that will be at the back end of the summer when public works staff have some capacity. But again, encourage the residents to clean up their section in front of their door. Just wanted to let you know that we did reach out to the province about that, and Route 60, similar thing, right? And last but not least, I'm going to bring up something I think that's very important, and we tried to do it last year. This is for Gay Pride Month. Last year we talked about it in here. We were a little bit late in trying to get something in a more visible public way done. We put the flag up here and things like that. We wanted to get a crosswalk done. We couldn't get it done last year. We were able to save some money on some other projects early in the year in infrastructure, public works. So we went out to bids. We got a couple of bids, and we're going to make an award and have that done this week. We would have done sooner, but the weather's been so poor, haven't been able to paint. So it'll be at the main beach parking lot area, and placed next to the planter and flow into the crosswalk. We can't do the crosswalk, provincial road. We're not allowed to do it, but we're trying to do something there in a visible way to make sure that people understand that the community of Holyrood, we support diversity inclusion when people, all people, whatever your interests, are to be respected and feel welcomed, right? So I think that the committee is really happy to be putting that forward, and all the council was in support of that. It's not just this committee. It's something that was talked about the committee as a whole for the last year, really. And we were just fortunate enough to save a bit of money on a couple other jobs that we could reallocate some funds. So I look forward to that.
Good.
That's it for me, because the other items I had on my list we've already touched on in other committees and so on, so I don't want to duplicate efforts and drag the meeting on. So I'll turn it over to Councillor Sadie King and deliver these two important motions, and I hope that you will support them.
First one is a gas tax motion. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood submit an application to the Gas Tax Authority to complete upgrades to enhance recreational and/or tourism infrastructure. This work will include the installation of armor stone and fencing at a section of the park site to ensure this area is safe for all those using the park. The cost for this project is $22,195, including HST. The town did complete a request for quotes for this work. We did receive 4 responses, and Harbor Construction was the company which could provide the services required for the lowest cost. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Sadie King and seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion?
That's the area that is all divided off just at the beginning of the path,
Fence, where the fence is down.
And the fence is foundering in, and there's certainly some mitigation work that needs to be done to bring that up to a certain standard and make it safe for everybody. So, definitely a necessary project. Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor? Contra motion is carried.
And the second one is for leak detection equipment. I'm sure after this week we all realize the importance of leak detection equipment. So be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood submit an application to the Gas Tax Authority to purchase water upgrade equipment that will assist the town with leak detection within its infrastructure. The cost of this equipment is $14,294.50, including HST. This equipment will enable staff to locate water leaks and begin repairs in a more timely manner. This will reduce the length of time water is being lost, as well as the length of time and resources to correct the problem. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Buckle. Further discussion? Councillor Buckle.
Yeah, just a quick comment. We talked about this during the budget process last year. We talked about, this was brought forward as one of the things that the Public Works Committee was looking for. It didn't get in the budget at the time, but we're looking. We're getting the gas tax now. We're using gas tax money for it. And the motion itself speaks for itself. With this equipment, our staff can go to where that they know where possibility a leak is, instead of having because a lot of times we're waiting for resources to come into the town from outside, hiring someone to come in. If they're busy in another town, then we're waiting, and as we're waiting, water's leaking, the tank is dropping, and as Councillor Windsor said earlier, in the summertime with the use of water and then a major leak and waiting so long to get it repaired, the tank drops down. It takes week or weeks, depending, for the tank to replenish. So this is something. I think is a wish that the town needs, and it's a very important one. And I think this is a great motion here tonight to get this equipment for our staff to be able to go out and find the water leaks. It's hats off to the Public Works Committee for bringing this motion forward tonight. Very supportive of this motion. Thank you.
Well, I don't look at this as a cost. I look at it as a very wise investment, because I do know that for many years, as Councillor Buckle said, we always experience leaks. Sometimes there's a prolonged period before a company can come in, the tank can drop and will continue to drop. And sometimes these leaks, can take an extended period of time, because what they do is take it sections and basically narrow it down. So there's no reason why that we can't have our own piece of equipment. It'll pay for itself over time. And not only that, but it'll allow our public works staff, when time allows, that we can take a proactive approach where they can actually go out and do sections of the town to monitor the flow of water and what's going on in the pipes. So, I think that this is a wise investment for the town for sure, and I fully support it. All right, any other questions or comments? No? If not, all those in favor, those against, motion is carried. Okay, so that's it for Infrastructure and Public Works. Now we'll move on to Business Development and Marketing. Deputy Mayor, you're up.
The Business Development and Marketing Committee, we met on June the 16th with all members in attendance. 2 new business applications were reviewed but required further analysis and consultation with the town planner. 1 was sent to Planning and Development for consideration. There was also a complaint that we received regarding a business being advertised and whether that business was registered with the town. So the complainant identified the owner and the nature of the business to our director, acting CAO, and who I think you've reached out to that individual to identify if that business is operational and requested a completion of the business application, which is a good process. So just wanted to let that individual know, the complainant know, that the work has been completed on that complaint. There were several other files that were discussed but are in the preliminary stages, and information will be released on those once they are finalised. And the last thing we wanted to bring up was that the town is partnering with the Newfoundland Trailway for a small project that was funded under Active NL. We applied to Active NL for this specific work. We received $4,500 from Active NL, which the Newfoundland Trailway will match. And they're completing a section of our rail bed it's approximately 8.5 kilometers from the generating station to the Marina Road. And it's for clearing culverts, repairing washouts, and some brush cutting. So that's going to be a great opportunity for all of our ATV users and our walkers to be able to use that section very safely. And that's it for business development and marketing.
And everything else has been brought up in the past. There's a lot of ongoing items that we are dealing with, but certainly not in a position to bring them forward to council at this point. But meetings and discussions are certainly ongoing. Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Woodford. Any other questions or comments on that? No? Okay, now we'll move on to public safety. We have Councillor Bruce King and Councillor Buckle.
Don't want to mess up my A. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Safety Committee had a meeting on the 13th of June. Those in attendance was the Mayor, our acting CAO, Ms. Gibbons, the Fire Chief, and myself. Councillor Buckle and Robert Stacey sent their regrets. In the future, we're going to start probably on alternate months of putting out an invitation to the RCMP to attend as well, so they can give us a little bit more update on what's actually going on in the town that probably even council is probably not aware of. So we sent out the invitation, but it was a little bit short notice. So, but they made a commitment that in the future, given plenty of heads up, they'll attend, and we intend to take them up on their offer. There was a couple of points brought up. One, we keep talking about it, and I know some people say, well, you know, you keep talking about the same thing over and over, but you need to reiterate some of the stuff over and over. And one of the things is fire safety. And I know yesterday we had a frost warning, and we had rain, and people are out there building arcs and all that kind of stuff, but eventually the rain will stop, the sun will come out, the ground will dry, the woods will dry, and the fire index will go up. Okay? So people need to be aware when you're flicking the cigarette or you're out on the ATV trail or whatever you're doing, people need to be aware that it only takes that fair second, you know, that's going to cause a disaster here. And we're all in a wooded area, and you look at Nova Scotia, you look at Alberta, you look at Quebec. I mean, we're still suffering the smoke from Quebec, and there's still some places that's out of control. So we talk about it over and over, so eventually people can say, listen, yeah, we need to be more careful. We need to be more cognizant of when we're in the woods and the damage it could cause through carelessness. The other thing we need to discuss, school is over now. Kids are out on the road, or kids are out. One of the things that is with regards to drinking and underage drinking. People need to be aware of the fact that, you know, if you supply alcohol to people that are underage and something happens, you very well could be liable. All right? So people need to be cognizant of the fact, you know, going and buying a case of beer for whoever, you might be putting yourself in jeopardy. So people need to be aware of the fire hazard, and you also need to be aware of people and underage drinking as well, because it's ongoing. The other point was brought up was the fire department. They had 6 people attend their fire school out in Grand Falls, Windsor, and Gander. They have 6 more people who are highly qualified within the fire department, and we look forward to seeing their training in the coming weeks. The training ground is coming along great. They have added a sea container to that position there, or that piece of ground, and they're now able to do all different types of training, and that only enhances their ability to be able to respond to emergencies both here in the town of Holyrood and up on the Trans-Canada Highway. So it's all good, and hopefully in the future, as funding becomes available, that training facility will only get better. And, you know, in years down the road, there's no reason why we couldn't, you know, invite other fire departments in the area to come and use it, probably at a cost. But, you know, it's going to be an excellent site once it's complete. We talked about the budget with regards to public safety. Everything is on track right now. We're at about the middle of the road sort of thing, the 45 to 50%, exactly where we want to be, and that's all great. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about, just the last two, and then I'll turn it over to Councillor Buckle, is kids on the road. I know there's been talk on social media about, you know, sidewalks and stuff like that. Well, the logic of trying to put sidewalks on Route 60, it's not, right? I mean, you got to be, everybody is concerned about safety. Everybody's concerned about kids being on the road. Absolutely. But you also have to tell your kids, you know, be careful when you're on the road, because I've seen people yesterday, kids were going back and forth, darting in between traffic, you know, and you can only keep your eye on so many of them. And if there's 3 or 4 of them there, you don't know which way somebody is going to turn, whether they're going to turn left, turn right, or whatever. So everybody needs to be, both the people that are behind the wheel needs to be cognizant of the kids, and the kids that are on the bicycles need to be cognizant of the traffic. Last point, Canada Day is coming up. Fireworks, pets, make sure you put your dog in, your cat, or if worse comes to worse, put a little set of ear defenders on them. Okay? And at this time, I'll turn it over to Councillor Buckle.
Thank you, Councillor King.
No, Councillor King, you've done a great job there doing the update, and the biggest one that I want to touch base on is just the last one. The last one just said there, second last one. I mean, the kids are out of school, they're a bit excited. You know, I mean, they're on, you see a lot of kids on bikes now, and kids just walking in subdivisions and stuff. I mean, there is areas that we do have speed bumps. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean. I'm after been in a few areas where the speed bumps are there, and you're taking your time and stuff. But you know what I mean, there is kids, small kids, still walking out in the road. So sometimes you know what I mean, the parents got to do a little bit of explain to the young kids too. You know what I mean? Because a couple of areas I'm after going, I know is where the kids are just out by themselves playing, and like they're walking out in front of cars, even though they're slowing down for the speed bump. So you know what I mean. The education side, you know what I mean, from the public and the people driving and the people out on the roads, but the parents, you know what I mean, explain to the little kids too. You know what I mean? They got to be you got to be recognizing the vehicles coming through. But I mean, it is summertime and kids are excited. So,
Right.
and if the weather, as the weather gets better, you know what I mean, there's going to be more kids out on the go. Thank you.
If I could just chime in on the point that Councillor King made about fire safety this time of the year, and you're quite correct. I mean, you know, last week, you know, it was like the fall of the year with the rain and everything else, and at the time, we didn't think the summer was ever coming. But I tell you, once, because we never had what we would call a major, harsh winter, the ground underneath is pretty dry. And it only takes 2 or 3 days of hot weather when you're in the mid-20s with a little bit of wind. And, you know, things can happen pretty quick. I took a little walk the other day up a path, and I could hear my feet crunching underneath. It was that dry. And, you know, all we have to do is remind ourselves of the major situation that they had in Chapel's Cove a few years ago, which part of, or could have been a large part of the community that was literally jeopardized. And I think it was last year or the year before, they had a major forest fire in Harbour, Maine, which threatened several homes. So we're not immune, and with the right conditions or the wrong conditions, whatever way you want to look at it, you know, the temperatures can rise, things can get pretty dry pretty quick, and just again, be careful, especially when you're in a wooded area, because something as much as a cigarette can be catastrophic. And we certainly don't want to see that in our community. So that's a good point, Councillor King. Okay, any other questions or comments on those points? If not, we will move on to communications. My apologies, I didn't mention it earlier, but Councillor Crawley had a prior commitment this evening and she was unable to join us. So I guess the Deputy Mayor will give the report.
So our communications committee, we met on June the 1st. We have another meeting scheduled for this Thursday evening. The acting CAO, myself, and Councillor Sadie King and Laura Crawley were all in attendance. The main issue that we discussed at this meeting was cell phone coverage. Because of course the mayor had turned that info over to our committee for us to handle. So we wanted to identify a plan of action to take, and the first plan of action was to reach out to the bill executives that we had talked with before, which our acting CAO did that, and they did get a reply back. So I'm just going to try to summarize basically what they said. They are working, doing some upgrading in the Avondale area, which services most of Holyrood. Once they have this work completed, they are going to do an additional analysis to see if that work has actually improved the service. And once they get that report back, then they're going to contact us, hopefully for a sit-down. That's the plan. So we're hoping to be able to move this forward as quickly as possible. They did get back rather quickly, which was great. And, you know, we want to be able to work with Bell to be able to, you know, provide the service in Holyrood that people are paying for. And, you know, we want to start there. And I mean, hopefully we don't have to go to provincial government or federal government or CRTC. We're hoping that our talks with Bell will have identified, yes, there is an issue. We all know there is an issue. So hopefully this is the first step in moving forward with something. They're trying to do an upgrade with, you know, with 5G network. So hopefully that will bring better service to the individuals in Holyrood. The other thing that we were discussing as well is the circulars or the flyers, brochures, whatever you want to call them, that we go out with on a yearly basis. And there was a call for bids for that. 3 bids were received, and the lowest bid was Image 4. So that contract will go to Image 4 for those flyers. And the last piece that we discussed was basically the external communication piece that is the next item on the communications plan, as we're taking it piece by piece. And that is how we communicate with our residents. And looking at what we're doing currently and how that's working, looking at other communities and how they are reaching out to their residents and how residents interact in turn with the town. And hopefully we can come up with some better ways to make sure everybody is informed that needs to be informed, whether it's about recreation or some, you know, safety, public safety issue, or, you know, a water leak or anything like that. So that's the next piece that we're hoping to get to in the next few months. And that's it from communications.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions or comments? I don't know, in regards to Bell, there was a problem happening in Holyrood the other day with services and everything, and it seemed that that was the best time the cell phones were. Because I was on the phone several times a day, because as I said at the last meeting, and I'm not exaggerating, and I think we can all agree, because everybody in the community is saying the same thing, they got their little perch now, literally 2 by 2. I phoned the CAO all the time, and like she's saying, Gary, stop, move. like, I can't hear you. It was just absolutely ridiculous. But it seemed like for a couple of days, the cell phones just picked up, and they were the best kind. So, I don't know, it's a mystery. But anyway, the committee is going to keep digging in, and until we, like we said before, we're going to be persistent, and we're going to be steadfast on doing this until we get some results. Okay, any other questions or comments on the Communications Committee? Okay, if not, we will move on to the operational review. Councillor Windsor?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, I guess the update there would be that council has met with the consultant as a whole, as a group, to hear Mr. Curran's preliminary findings and recommendations, and the work is nearing the close. And the benchmarking activity against other communities has been completed, and we're aligning on what we feel is the best vision for the town going forward. So I think that was a very productive meeting, and I think we will receive a more formal deliverable from Mr. Kern. I'm trying to remember the exact date now that he committed to me privately, but toward the end of July, we'll say, right?
And of course, we're also discussing now certain aspects of our strategic plan. Certain things that we want to put in Mr. Curran's ear so he can do some preliminary work on that. So, all right, any questions or comments on the operational review and strategic plan? No? Okay, we will now move on to corporate services and administration. I guess Councillor King is going to pay the bills this week in the absence of Councillor Crowley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Corporate Services and Administrative Committee met on June 22nd. In attendance was Councillor Crowley, the Director of Finance, Marie Cyril, and our Acting CEO, Ms. Gibbons, and myself. Some of the points that we discussed, the first one that came up was the Procurement Act, and on July 4th, coming up the next meeting of the whole, they are going to do a presentation to Council on the things that work and some of the things that don't work. And I mean, the people that are using the system are the most reliable people to get the answers from, because if you're using it, then you can tell me how it's working, and you can also tell me how it's not working. And that's what we're going to do on the 4th of July. They're going to do a presentation to Council and tell us all the good things and some of the things that probably need to be improved. So we look forward to that one. The fiscal update. Right now, pretty well all departments across the board are exactly where they're supposed to be, at about 45 to 50% of their budget, with still another 6 months left. So that's working really good. Payments on property tax and business tax are coming in. So a big shout out to all the people that are paying their taxes, and the money is coming in, and of course we're paying the bills with the money coming in. There was a donation request. One was the Cloudberries. I think it was $150, but that was already done, so that's not a problem. We had several requests from people that are into the sports, especially softball. So what we decided to do, instead of giving money out to everybody, we're going to make a $100 donation to softball, and that will cover all the kids from Holyrood that are going to be participating this year, and that should work out pretty good. As like the mayor had said, the assessments for 2024 are out, but you also, if you look at all the other communities, it's not just Holyrood, right? I mean, it's right from one end of the province to the other. So we're not unique when it comes to, you know, how our properties are being assessed. So it's across the board, and you're absolutely right. There should be some kind of an inquiry or investigation or some kind of better explanation on how somebody could have a property and do absolutely very little with it other than the normal maintenance, and still be $80,000 or $90,000 worth more over a couple of years. That makes absolutely no sense, right? We did look at the assessments. Right now, before 2024, the average home in Holyrood was worth about $270,000. That has gone up about 6% to about $285,000 over this year. So we're in line with pretty well all the other communities across the province. And the other thing is on your assessment, if you're not happy, which I'm sure most people are not happy if their assessment is going up, there is a piece on the back there that tells you, you know, what the process is. If you feel that your property is not as much as what they estimate it to be, then you have the right to appeal. And you also, there's a line there that says you have a deadline. So, you know, it's no good to wait till September, October, November to say to people, oh, I mean, my taxes are going up. Well, this is your opportunity now to make your feelings known to the municipal assessment agency that you're not happy. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And now you're going to do a couple of resolutions.
Pay the bills. Okay, everybody already has a copy of the accounts. So, the first one is, be it resolved that those accounts tabled in the amount of $236,502.11, checks number 446445 to 44797, and checks D3304 to check D3363 be approved for payment from general accounts. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Bruce King, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Further discussion? If not, all those in favour, those against, motion is carried.
And the last part of that one, the bank book balance is $178,984. Thank you.
Okay.
The balance is healthier on your watch, sir.
Yeah.
I knocked on door to door.
Okay, now we'll move on to new business, and we do have a motion here, so who would like to move and second the motion? Whoever moves it can read it, and then we'll second it. As mayor, I'm not allowed to make motions.
No worries. So this is a motion for Mental Health Task Force. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve the appointment of Councillor Bruce King to represent the town on the Mental Health Task Force, a municipality-driven initiative with a shared goal of making mental health everybody's business. The mandate of the Mental Health Task Force will be to assist municipalities with identifying priority actions and then seek support to improve quality and accessibility for people with mental health issues. So moved.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Buckle. Further discussion? I don't think we could have a better guy to serve on this committee. Not to say that anybody else wouldn't do a good job, but I know that Councillor King, coming from his background and everything else, I think he's certainly going to be a valuable asset to that committee. So,
Well, this
congratulations.
is certainly a much-needed participation because
Yes.
we've seen how mental health issues have escalated all across our province, across our country, across the world, especially since we were in a pandemic. But it was prevalent long before then. But now it seems that communities and our provincial government is really looking at ways and means to educate us in smaller communities on how to deal with mental health issues. So thank you so much for agreeing to join that task force.
And I think it's a good approach because, you know, people may feel more comfortable reaching out to somebody in their own community, you know, rather than having to go through, not to say that the province is not doing a good job or anything else, but it's at a higher level, it's more complicated. But if you can, you know, reach out because it's at the community level, you know.
Well, knowing what supports will be put in place, you know, within the
Exactly.
community, at least we can get that information out to people within the community.
Exactly, yeah, okay,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions or comments, further discussion? If not, all those in favor, those, raise your hands, those against, motion is carried. Congratulations, Councillor King. Okay, now we'll do the go-around, starting with the Deputy Mayor.
I just had a couple of things. I know that Councillor King just spoke about municipal assessments and how they're gone up. There is an appeals process, absolutely. I think they're for business and for personal as well. I think the deadline is July the 31st, because that's what it said on mine, because I will be appealing mine as well. And there's, you know, if you go online and you do some little research, you will be able to see different sites that help you with making an appeal to a municipal assessment agency and what needs to go in that appeal. You just can't say, I appeal because I don't believe it's, you know, it's gone up $48,000. You have to give a reason why. And there are sites out there that will assist you in doing that. So have a look for those, because it is your opportunity to appeal it and see what happens. I think there's a fee associated. I know there's a fee associated with business, but I'm not sure if it's for a residential.
yeah.
There is as well. If your appeal is granted, you get that feedback. And the other, I guess the other one was about the formula they use. I know that you had talked about how they come up with the increases every year. So part of it would be, you know, in your discussion, would be to say what formula was used to put up my taxes, this percentage or this amount in that appeal.
There was a wise former councillor here, way back years ago, and he said, and he was attached with provincial government, he said it's a formula, a magic formula, that's not meant for the public to understand.
Yeah.
And right up to this
But if you
day,
ask for it, they have to
and I
divulge what
think
that formula
we need
is.
further clarification to explain the rhyme and reasoning and the logic behind it to ensure it's fair and consistent. Because right now, many people, including MNL, Municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador, and they've been on this now for years because they feel there's a big inequity with this whole process as well. I'm not saying there's anything wrong, but I'm just saying that residents should have a right to know. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, is that it?
And other than that, it's Happy Canada Day. Wishes to everybody, and hopefully everyone will come out and enjoy the festivities on Saturday.
Fingers, toes crossed, the weather's
The
good.
weather's going to be fantastic.
Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank, I'm looking forward to this, being part of this mental health task force. And like you were saying, my background, and I don't want to drag out this meeting any longer than needs to be, but when the military went to Afghanistan, right, back in the early 20s, you know, right now I think we were up, by the time we left there, we're about 168,000 or 168 people that were killed there. That number has far exceeded now of those people who have taken their own life since they've come back. Okay, and you know, in the military years ago, and I'm sure not only in the military, but even places out around the bay. I know we're out from where I'm from. You never ever discussed anything to do with mental health. It was hid in the back, and the same way with the military. The minute you mentioned mental health, you were out the gate, right? Those things have changed now, both in the civilian world, where you know it's looked at now as an illness. It's not looked at something that should be hid away or whatever, because over time, with the proper treatment, it can be fixed. And the same way with the military today. The military has taken a completely different approach to mental health as what it was, say, 20 years ago. So everybody is on the right track when it comes to stuff like that. And you're right, with COVID and everything else going on and the stress of mental health became a very, very important thing. So I'm looking forward to it. And the only point that I have is that Saturday, is Canada Day, but it's also Memorial Day, right? So we shouldn't forget that part. And I know, we've always divided the day up into two parts, right? The first part of the day was always considered Memorial Day, where we paid respect and gratitude to the people that, died on July 1st, 1916 and thereafter. And then after 12 o'clock, we celebrated what they achieved from what they did. So there is a ceremony down at the War Memorial on Saturday morning. I think people have to be there by around 10:30 or so, and the normal time, it's the same timings as Remembrance Day, it's 11 o'clock. So if you're down in that area, feel free to drop in, and then once Memorial Day or the ceremony is over there, then you just walk up the road and go to the festival grounds and enjoy Canada Day. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Councillor Buckle.
No, I just had a couple of points there, but you mentioned the search and rescue one. For that gentleman sending a letter to search and rescue, thanking them for their service. The work that they do for search and rescue here in Holyrood and the surrounding areas. Getting out and going in and looking for people and helping. It's a great. It's like the fire department. It's a great service they provide. And you indicated about issuing a letter to Mabel on behalf of the town, congratulating them and thanking them for their job they done. So that was one thing I had, and the assessments was the other one. Everybody's assessments have gone up, and it's, a lot of people's has gone up a good bit. So hopefully everybody will appeal them, and the assessment awards say, boy, people in Holyrood are not happy. Because I don't think it's fair. How they're gone up. Some of the assessments are gone up crazy. Some I talked to a couple of seniors. And theirs went up a good bit, and they've never done any work with their houses or anything because they couldn't afford to do it. No more they can afford to pay more taxes. And based on the assessment there. So hopefully everybody will appeal it. And the deputy mayor said there is a cutoff date there, and if you don't get it in, it's no good. You got to get it in before that cutoff date. So hopefully everyone will get in. And the other thing was the memorial service and Canada Day. Councillor King talked that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Councillor Windsor.
No, nothing here. Only point I was going to make was on Memorial Day. I'm so grateful that you brought it up. It's probably more powerful. Nothing further.
Thank you. Councillor King, you can wrap it up.
A couple of things. One is the garbage along the sides of the road. There's an awful lot of garbage around Holyrood in the ditches and by the sides of the road. And if everybody would just take a few minutes and go out and clean up in front of their places, I'm sure it could make a big difference there. And the other thing, we have all the boxes gone in the community garden, but some people haven't got them set yet. So I'd encourage them, the weather's getting nicer now, get out and get your boxes set, or you won't be getting any out of them.
You get weeds for supper.
There's still a lot of weeds up there yet. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. And that is the agenda, folks. The date of the next meeting is July 25th at 6 p.m. Could I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Buckle. Those in favour, against, meeting stands adjourned.